Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. How are you all doing today? Did you go to church for the Christians? So, I'm very excited to be here once more. Today, we have such an interesting topic. And before I start with that, let me introduce myself. Hi, my name is Inda Bongo-Awah. On this channel, I will simplify aspects. I will simplify life. Things are being made complex for no just cause. We have people that reason differently. I, for one, I reason differently. So I like to use complex things to make it simple, such that we should have clarity, we should know why we're doing it, and there should be intentionality. So, what's our topic for today? Today, we shall be talking about DevOps, why DevOps exists. So if you're joining in, I'd like to know where you're joining in from in the comment section. For those who want to watch later, I'm looking forward to your comments and questions. And if you really want to make a difference in your life, I'll put a link below where you can fill a form and tell me exactly where you're at on your journey and what aspect is stopping you or being a problem to you at the moment. I will help you along the way. Now, before we talk about DevOps, I have this simple question. Have you ever ordered something, right? And when it arrives, it's completely different from what you expected? Have you? So, this is exactly what used to happen in the software development life cycle before DevOps came to life. So, to understand DevOps, let's go back in time and see how it was done before then. Just before DevOps, there was a problem, and DevOps is the solution to that problem. What's the problem? Does anyone know what the problem was before? All right, I'll go ahead and explain. In the past, software was built using a process called the waterfall model. And as we all know, the waterfall, right, from up to down, it doesn't go back up, from up to down. So imagine a company comes to you and says, I want you to produce a banking app for us. We need a banking app. Then you all go through the requirements, the design, the development, the testing. You go through all the phases, but know that everything happens step by step. And in such a project, you have already hired the people, right? You hire them, you hire the developers, you hire the operations, you hire the testers and everything. But due to waterfall model, you need to start from the top, from the ideation. So the developers, what do? They start building code. They build code, the operations are waiting. Okay, before that process ends, the process has to end before the other process begins. And why they are coding, the other team waits, there's no communication. So, and imagine 3 months later, they have built the code, they send the code to production, it is coming down. 3 months later, also, the client comes and tells you that, oh, I have an update. I want to upgrade something. We are in the waterfall model. You can't go back. Because the waterfall, once it comes, it can't go back. So that's too late. What do we see? We see that the waterfall model doesn't work clearly. What's the second problem? The second problem is delay, because the testing team is waiting, the operations team is waiting on the code or on whatever has been built, and everyone is waiting except for the developers. So they don't only lack communication, there's also waiting and waiting. Why being paid? It's financial loss. Now, imagine that comes along with pressure. And what does that bring along? we see that it's a silo, right? A silo is when something is just one heap, is blocked over another, is stapled over another. So operation team does nothing till at the end. They say, okay, that as well isn't working. What happened? They transition now to another model that seems to be more productive or more efficient than the waterfall model, which is the agile method. What happens in the agile method? In the agile method, instead of building everything at once, we build in little iterations. You first build one thing, you iterate, you go to the next thing, and you iterate. At this point in time, yes, it's faster. Yes, it's flexible. Yes, the little iterations make them go a little bit further. But still, the agile method wasn't enough. They still had the big problem that the developers and the operators did not really communicate. They weren't really in sync with another. The gap still existed between developers and operators. Why did this gap exist? How can we bridge this gap? Developer is there writing his code, operation is there waiting to run the code. How do we make it better? They're still not aligned because the developer will say, I have the code, it works on my machine. And operations will say, oh no, the code isn't running in production. There is this famous joke that DevOps engineers as well as platform engineers make that it works on my machine. Just like taking the code, the developer finishes the code and throws it over the fence to the operations. Here, there is your code. It works on my part. It should work on your side. There was still a very big problem in that. So, what do you think that the solution was? Yeah, you got it right. DevOps. DevOps was born. DevOps was or is the solution. But is DevOps a tool? No, DevOps is not a tool. DevOps is a culture. It's a culture where the developers and the operators, I say development and operations, they come together. They work with collaboration. They work with automation. They work with continuous delivery. So that's how, or those are the shortcomings that led to DevOps. Now, if you notice that, you see that you can apply this to other aspects. You see that DevOps is not really tech, right? DevOps is a culture. And let's define DevOps. DevOps is a system for reducing friction between people, processes, and outcomes. So at its core, DevOps solves one problem. Why is it so hard to turn an idea into a reliable result? Because DevOps is like a life cycle, right? You start from ideation, you have the idea, you build it, you test it, you at the top of my mind, I know that there is a circle of there is this infinite sign because DevOps never ends, right? It's infinite. So, how did this DevOps originate? What's the origin of it? Who are the people that came about this, right? Because I don't know if you have asked yourself that question at one point in time, but let me ask, have you asked yourself that question? How did DevOps come about? Who are the people that sat together and said, okay, the waterfall model has failed us. The agile method isn't really working the best. Now we need DevOps. So sometime in 2009, that's over 17 years ago, yeah, that's how far this method has been coined and given a name. There were these two at a velocity conference. This is just research work now. John Alspau and Paul Hammond. Please forgive me if I'm butchering these names. They gave a talk and they said they deploy 10 times per day. People like, what? You deploy how many times a day? It takes us weeks and sometimes months to deploy once, and you are deploying 10 times a day. This was a shock to the industry. So, and people say that we need to get our hands on this thing. How did they make that work? So, sometime in that same year, one guy, I don't know if it's a man, forgive me, someone by the name Patrick Dubois, he organized a DevOps Day in Belgium. And within the DevOps Day, the term DevOps came to existence or was coined. The term was coined, but the method was already being implemented, but the term was coined then that is called DevOps. Now, we have been saying DevOps the whole time. No, DevOps is like bridging the gap. DEF is the development, OPS is operations. So bridging the gap between development and operations. And when the DevOps came to existence, it removes silos, which means that you don't need to wait for one process to come to an end before you start the next process. It means that you could work independently of another. It means that you were constantly talking with each other. It means that the testing team will not always have to wait for the code because they were always like, for the code to be finished. They were constantly in sync. Now, DevOps exists to increase speed without sacrificing stability. So, you know that you have the idea, you have the value it provides, you give feedback, and there's improvement. That's just a summary of it, but there are several steps that lead to this. Now, let me break down the steps. We have the planning, right? You have the build. When you plan, you build. When you build, you test. When you test, you release. When you release it, you deploy. You deploy in now, operations take over to monitor. You learn. When you learn from the mistakes or from the success, you like say, okay, let's plan again for the next cycle. So that's how it continuously goes in a cycle. And this cycle can be applied to any system. This cycle can be applied to any system. This cycle can be applied to any system. So how many systems do we have? Do you have your own system? How many systems do you in particular have? Let me use this basic example. Can DevOps be applied in a restaurant? Can the DevOps is a culture, can it be applied in a restaurant? The answer is yes, it can be applied because, as we said, DevOps are set of principles that helps to make people, processes, and outcome amplified, right? So now let me just go. Let's think out of the box. Let us put tech aside. Put tech aside, and this one now is for everyone. Imagine you have a restaurant, right? And the restaurant, the chef creates the menu alone. He is in his element, maybe 2 a.m., he's there creating the menu. Then the waiters get feedback later after they've created the menu, cooked the food, the customers have eaten, then you get feedback. Then positive or negative feedback. The customers, maybe they are complaining. Change happened slowly because when he made the menu, he did not consult with the team or with the cooks or with the staff to see that how the customers react to this. So we see that DevOps can be applied in any system. You can use it in any system that you are involved in. Don't get intimidated by the word DevOps. Most people just say, "Oh, they are in DevOps. They are a DevOps engineer," and you're just like, right? Your brain is just mesmerized. You say, "Oh, all right." Now, how can DevOps then be applied in a restaurant? If in the planning, let's come to the planning. If the owner or the person in charge of the menu gathers customer feedback every day. He discusses with the team during the planning stage. They plan well. They really plan the menu based on all the aspects that affect the food they are going to produce. Now, for the build stage now, the plan, the chef now, the chef can experiment with new dishes, that is building things, making food. And when he builds a new dish, he gives someone to test, say, taste it. Is it nice? Is it delicious? Is this something that our customers will like? That's the testing stage. Now, if they say that, oh yes, we'll love it, it makes you feel happy or whatever, they'll release the dish now. They'll say, okay, let's include this dish into the menu. That's the release stage. And what's the deploy stage? The deploy is that the customers are being served. We deploy it to you. The customers are served. And what happens now? In the monitoring, when the customer has served, what you're waiting for now is what will they say about it? Have they ordered more? Are they complaining? Is a dish popular? That's what you monitor. Then you come back together as a team. You say, okay, what are our learnings from this? What have we learned from this new menu? How can we make it better, or how can we scale this? So that is DevOps in a restaurant. Now, can you apply DevOps principles in your family? People, processes, outcomes. People, processes, outcomes. A family has people. You have to lead a family through certain processes to have a better outcome. Now, traditionally, if you have, let's say in the waterfall model, right, in a family, the father gives instructions, decision, it's a given. The father gives them this, oh, sorry. The father gives instructions. We have no communication. Just so that Papa said we should do this. Decision is made. Problems are repeated. No feedback loop. Now, can it be better? Can we use the DevOps principle? Yes, we can. And how can we do it? We start by planning. Most families nowadays, they have their normal planning sessions where they say, okay, family meeting, that's DevOps. Family meeting, we plan for the week. This week, we are doing this, we're eating this person has his activities, that's the planning. Then you go now to the building, you set routines, you go building now, schools, choirs, prepare meals and everything. Testing, we'll try new things. We'll say, okay, we'll come back now. Let's test this. Let's test this. Did it work? Budgeting, excuse me, budgeting, schedules, all of those things, we test them. Then we apply them in our daily lives. At the end, let's see, monitoring. How did it go? Are the kids improving? Is it reducing stress? Is it increasing stress? We learn and we adjust. This is how I take to explain principles, to explain concepts that have been over dramatized. I know you need to learn, I know you need to focus, I know you need to understand the tools. But what's most important is you understand the concept, you understand why it exists in the first place. Understand that DevOps is not just for tech. Anyone, any system where you have people, processes, tools with expected outcomes, where there is a plan, development and operations, the DevOps methodology comes into play. Now, let's go back. Let's dash back to tech. If you are doing DevOps, you need a set of tools. That sets of tools that are needed such that you should be successful. I'm so sorry. My hair keeps coming into my eye. Sorry about that. Now, If you're doing DevOps, what you don't need Kubernetes if you want to start your DevOps journey. You don't need to know about a CI/CD pipeline if you want to start your DevOps journey. You don't mostly need an AWS or a cloud platform if you're starting your journey to understand the DevOps principles. The things you need is Linux. People say Linux. You need Linux. You need the Git. Linux is at the environment, because that's why you use it in communicating. You need Git for version control. You need an automation because it's an automated process. Someone needs maybe Jenkins, and you need packaging. You need to package the code, and that is Docker. Kubernetes will come later on if you're scaling. So how do you start this process? These tools that I mentioned, they're not DevOps, they're just enablers. That's what makes DevOps possible. So if you want to start your DevOps journey today, don't focus on everything. Don't focus on everything. Understand why you want to become a DevOps engineer. What DevOps is. I've told you, I've given a few examples, scenarios of how the process went from Waterfall to Agile, then to DevOps. DevOps is 17 years old, which has a set of principles for people, processes with designated outcomes. So if you understand that, then you can start now choosing the right tools, not too many tools, choosing the right tools that you need. If anyone wants to start that DevOps journey, don't go and start buying courses on projects, on this, on that. The first course you need to buy, if at all you need to buy a course, is the course on Linux. First of all, understand the life cycle, right? What it takes, the story behind it. And every company practices DevOps differently because it's a culture. A company can be doing something differently and they call it DevOps. Another company is doing it differently and they call it DevOps. People, processes, outcomes. Let's have a process, agility, automation. So understand the life cycle, learn Git, learn Linux, pick one cloud environment. I chose AWS. Not only that, it is the largest cloud provider, but their processes they have free resources, they have affordable resources. Their community is really huge out there, so it makes it easier for anyone to start their DevOps journey on the AWS cloud environment, and build a simple pipeline. Building a pipeline, first understanding the principles. So start small, but start with understanding what DevOps is, what problems DevOps solves, why it exists in the first place, why the company you're working for, how they practice their own DevOps methodology. Some people can do something differently, but they call it DevOps. It's your culture. I'm not here to argue your culture, but understand the culture they are in and understand how DevOps comes together. Now, if you want to learn DevOps in a structured way, where you don't just learn tools, but you understand what you want to do, we presently work with a few people that are on their DevOps journey. There'll be a Google form attached in the comment section here. You can fill the form, explain where you are at, how you want to move forward, why you want to study DevOps, if it's the problems you want to solve, because DevOps also has a great role to play with the company's reputation. Whatever you do, see of how you make it easier for the company to make profits, because nobody is here to hire you for hiring sake. So make sure that it's really something that when there are tough days, you can rely on your love for it, on your dedication, on your why. So use the link in the comment section to to fill the form. Yeah, fill the form and reach out. Well, this is a short session today. I hope I got to explain why DevOps exists. If you have any questions or any points you want us to talk about, please reach out and I'll be glad to have the conversation with you. This is part one. Part one is to explain why DevOps exists. There is a part two coming up, and the part two will deal more with the technical aspects. We shall go deeper into the tools that are needed in DevOps. We shall go into the initial stages, talk about the infrastructure, talk about the monitoring tools, talk about automation, talk about CI/CD. There are three parts to this series. So I hope you got to understand why DevOps exists. If this was clear enough, follow for more, and I look forward to more exchanges with you all. Thanks for watching and have a beautiful rest of the day. Bye.